We're doing a deep dive into this fascinating piece of source material called Inside the Race by Ned Gunter. And I have to say, this isn't just a how-to guide on picking winners.
No, not at all.
It feels more like a manifesto on discipline and mathematical structure.
It really is. Gunter isn't just giving us definitions. He's trying to fundamentally shift your mindset. He wants to move you from what he calls guessing, which is what most of us do, to structuring.
Structuring, that word came up a lot.
Right. The big idea here is that professional betting isn't just luck. It's not about a crystal ball. It's about understanding that a wager has an architecture. There are specific structures, strategies like boxing and keying that are designed to reward homework and punish random guessing.
So our mission today is to decode that math. We're going to unpack the strategy behind the ticket so that next time we're not just throwing money at a horse hoping it sticks.
Exactly. We want to understand the risk, the reward, and the mechanics of the wager. We're moving from being spectators to being architects of our own risk.
Okay, let's unpack the foundation first. Gunter starts with the absolute basics: win, place, and show. Now, these seem self-explanatory, but his take was a little more nuanced than I expected.
It is. He starts with the win bet. This is the purest form of wagering. One horse, one outcome. Your horse has to finish first. If it loses by a nose, you lose everything.
And his advice here was so direct, almost aggressive. Don't water down your conviction.
That's a key phrase. And what's fascinating is the psychology he describes. He argues most beginners operate out of fear.
Right.
You do the analysis, you look at the form guide, and you believe a horse is the absolute best in the race. But then, standing at the window, you get nervous.
You think, well, what if he gets bumped? What if he comes in second?
Exactly. So instead of betting him to win, you bet him to place or show, you're buying insurance against your own opinion.
Which Gunter says is a mathematical mistake.
A huge one. If you have the opinion, back the opinion. If you believe the horse wins, bet the win. If you aren't confident enough to think you can win, why are you betting him at all?
Okay, but let's talk about that what if. Because he doesn't dismiss the place bet entirely. A place bet finishing first or second, he says there's a time and a place for it.
Correct. But notice the specific scenario he uses. You don't bet place just because you're scared. You bet place when you see a clear, tangible danger.
Give us the example from the text.
So imagine you like a horse, we'll call him horse A. You think he's the class of the field. But there's a speed horse in the racehorse B who's known to just blast out of the gate.
Okay.
You think horse A is better, but you're worried that speed horse might just hold on long enough to wire the field. Or maybe there's a closer coming late.
So the place bet is like an insurance policy against a specific threat, not just general nervousness.
Exactly. You're trading a lower payout for an extra position of safety, but it's a calculated trade based on the race shape. You're saying, I think he wins, but that horse is a legitimate threat, so I'll cover that possibility.
Then we have the show bet, first, second, or third. And honestly, Gunter seems to have a bit of a beef with the show bet.
He really does. He basically implies that pros just don't touch it.
Why is that? It feels like the safest bet you can make. You have 3 chances to be right.
It is safe, but it's inefficient. It's the participation trophy of betting. The payouts are often so small that you are essentially just tying up your capital for a minimal return.
You bet $10 to win $2. Is that really worth the risk?
Exactly. Because there's still risk. The horse could trip, whatever. His point is brutally honest. If you aren't confident enough to bet win or place, you probably shouldn't be betting that race at all.
That brings us back to that word conviction. If you don't have it, don't bet.
That's the golden rule that runs through this entire source. The goal isn't to bet every race. It's to bet when you have an edge.
Okay, so that's the foundation. Win, place, show. But let's be real, where it gets really interesting and where the big money headlines come from is when we enter exotic territory.
Yes.
We're talking exactus, trifectus, superfectus.
This is where the math starts to reward difficulty.
Yeah.
And where it starts to punish the unprepared.
Let's define them quickly, just so we're all on the same page.
Sure. An exacta is picking the first and second place finishers in the exact order. A trifecta is first, second, and third exact order. Superfecta is the top 4 in order.
And the payouts here can be just wild compared to a simple win bet.
Oh, absolutely. A win bet on a favorite might pay $6, but if you hit an exacta with that same favorite on top, it might pay $40. A trifecta could pay hundreds. A superfecta, thousands.
So naturally, everyone wants to play these. It's the shiny object.
And that is the trap.
Gunter calls it lottery thinking.
Right. And this is a crucial concept. Beginners see those massive payouts, and they start thinking like lottery players. They stop analyzing and start playing lucky numbers, or just cover every combination, hoping to hit the jackpot.
But the source says these exotic bets are designed to punish that behavior.
They punish random guessing severely. The more positions you pick, the harder it is to win. If you're just throwing darts at the board, the math will just eat your bankroll alive. These bets are meant to reward structure and opinion.
Speaking of structure, this leads us to the two main tools for tackling these bets: boxing and keying. I feel like box is a term people hear a lot. Give me an exacta box.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe they don't fully get the math of what they're asking for.
So boxing is a strategy for uncertainty. When you box a bet, you're selecting multiple horses to finish in any order. You're covering the permutations.
Can you walk us through that example from the text? The 2 and 5 horse scenario?
Sure. Let's say you've analyzed a race. You really like horse 2 and horse 5. You think they are the best two animals on the track, head and shoulders above the rest.
Okay.
But they're really evenly matched. You know they'll be 1 and 2, but you have no idea which one crosses the wire first.
Right.
If you play a straight exacta, say 2 to win and 5 to place, and they finish 5 then 2, you lose.
Ah, the worst feeling.
You get nothing. You hit the right horses, wrong order. So you box them. A boxed exacta covers both outcomes.
Yeah.
2-5 wins and 5-2 wins. You cash the ticket regardless.
But there's a catch. We don't get this flexibility for free.
There's always a catch.
Yeah.
A box costs twice as much because you're literally buying 2 different tickets. You're paying for the 2-5 ticket and the 5-2 ticket.
So when should we be willing to pay that extra cost?
Gunter suggests using it when 2 horses are just that evenly matched, or maybe in a small field where the top 2 are clearly superior. You know they're going to be 1-2. You just don't want to sweat the photo finish.
And when should we not box? Because I've seen people who just box like 4 or 5 horses in a trifecta.
And that is that lottery thinking creeping back in, just disguised as strategy. Let's do the math on that. If you box 4 horses in a trifecta, you are covering every possible combination of those 4 finishing first, second, and third. That is 24 different combinations.
24.
At a standard $2 bet, that ticket costs you $48.
Wow.
You have to ask yourself, does the payout justify spending nearly $50? And if the favorite wins, the payout might only be $40. You could win the bet and lose money.
Which is just insane.
Exactly.
Okay.
Gunter is very clear. Boxing is for when you don't know the order. It's not a substitute for doing your homework. If you're boxing 5 horses, you're not handicapping. You're just hoping. You're casting a wide net and praying.
Boxing isn't a substitute for homework.
Yeah.
I like that. So if boxing is for uncertainty, the other strategy, keying, is the opposite.
Exactly. Keying is for conviction. This is how the pros play.
This was the part of the source material where I had a genuine aha moment, just looking at the math.
It's powerful when you see the numbers side by side.
So define keying for us first.
Keying is designating one horse to finish in a specific position, usually winning, and letting the other horses flow around it. You're taking a stand. You're saying, I don't know who comes second or third, but I know horse 4 is winning this race.
Okay, let's look at the math breakdown Gunter provided for the trifecta. This comparison really blew my mind.
Let's do it. Scenario. You love horse 4 to win. You think he's a lock. But you think horse 2, horse 3, and horse 5 are just fighting it out for the minor placings.
Okay, so we have 4 horses involved total.
Option A is you box all 4 of them. As we said, that's 24 combinations. If we're betting $1 per combo, that costs you $24.
Right. $24.
Option B is you could key horse 4 on top. So the ticket says horse 4 must win. And then underneath, in second and third place, you can have any combination of 2, 3, and 5.
And how many combinations is that?
6.
Wow, from 24 down to 6.
You've cut the cost of your ticket by 75%. Instead of spending $24, you spend $6. And here's the kicker. If horse 4 wins, you get the exact same payout as the person who spent 4 times as much boxing them.
That is efficiency. That's why pros key.
It gives you a higher return on investment. It forces you to be disciplined. You aren't paying for scenarios you don't believe in. If you think horse 4 wins, why pay for a ticket that says horse 2 wins?
And here's the scary part. If horse 4 finishes second,
Your ticket is dead. The whole thing. You tear it up, that is the risk.
so the danger here is false confidence.
Precisely. The text warns specifically about keying a weak favorite. Sometimes people just look at the tote board, see a horse is the favorite at 2 to 1, and think, well, the crowd likes him, I'll key him to save money.
That's a disaster waiting to happen.
It is. If you key a horse just because the crowd likes it, you are taking on all the risk with none of the insight. You key because your analysis says he wins, not because the board says so.
So we have the bet types. Now let's talk about the process. Gunter outlines a 5-step process for actually building the ticket. And what stands out to me is that placing the bet is the very last step.
Right. The betting window is the finish line. Step 1 is simply understand the race, conditions, distance, surface. Is it raining? Is it turf or dirt?
Step 2 involves a red pen, metaphorically speaking.
Eliminate weak horses. This is crucial. You can't bet on everyone. You need to look at the form, the distance, and just cross horses out. This horse is too slow. This horse has never run this far. You have to prune the dead wood.
Then step 3, identify contenders.
Once you've eliminated the bad ones, you're left with maybe 2 to 4 horses that actually have a shot. Now you have a manageable problem to solve.
And step 4 is where we apply what we just talked about. Choose your strategy.
And this is so interesting because the strategy comes after the analysis. You don't walk up saying, I'm going to play a trifecta today. You look at the contenders. If you have one standout, the race screams key. If you have 2 equal horses, it screams box.
Yeah.
The race dictates the strategy. You don't force a strategy onto the race.
And finally, step 5, control the cost.
Count the combinations before you bet. If your strategy costs $80 and the pot's only likely paying 60, don't make the bet.
It sounds so logical when we say it like this, but in the heat of the moment, with the loudspeaker blaring and the odds changing.
It's so hard to do. And that leads us to the section on bankroll management. This is the unsexy part that keeps you alive to bet another day.
Gunter has these golden rules of money. The first one is one I think every gambler has broken at least once, the chasing rule.
Never chase losses. It's human nature. You lose 3 races in a row, you're down $50, you feel that pit in your stomach, so you double your bet on the 4th to get back to even.
I love the quote he uses here. The horses don't know you're losing.
It's such a grounding statement, isn't it? The horse doesn't know you're down money. The jockey doesn't know. If you chase, small losses become catastrophic ones. You start betting with emotion, not logic.
He also talks about frequency.
Bet smaller and more often. Don't put your whole bankroll on one race. Spread your action. It reduces variance. If you bet everything on one race, you can be right 99% of the time. But if the horse trips, you're broke.
And then there's the skip rule. This might be the hardest thing to do at a track.
The discipline to stand there with money in your pocket, watch a race, and bet nothing.
Because you just couldn't figure it out.
Exactly. If the field is a mess, if all 12 horses look terrible, or if the favorite is unbeatable and paying nothing, skip it. Not every race is bettable. The smart punter knows when to sit on their hands.
There was also a really good point about value with favorites. I feel like there's this contrarian thing where people think they should never bet the favorite.
Right, the anti-favorite bias. Gunter disagrees. He says a favorite is a bad bet if the price doesn't justify the risk. If a horse is 2 to 5, paying pennies, but has a high chance of losing, that's a bad bet. But if a horse is 3 to 1 and your analysis says he should be even money, that's a great bet, even if it's the favorite. It's all about price versus probability.
And his final rule, no ATM trips.
Set a budget before you leave the house. Put the cash in your pocket, leave the debit card in the car. When it's gone, it's gone. It's simple, but it's the only way to ensure you can come back next week.
So, putting this all together, it's a complete system. We start with the simple win-play-show foundation. We move to the architectural approach of keying and boxing. We follow a strict process of elimination, and we manage our money.
It really reframes betting completely. It stops being about picking a winner and starts being about decision-making under uncertainty.
That's what I took away from this. The discipline required to not bet when you don't have an opinion is just as important as the bet itself. It's about impulse control as much as it's about horses.
Absolutely. You're managing risk, the horses run the race, but you construct the scenario in which you profit from it. You're building a trap for luck to fall into.
Well, Ned Gunter signs off the source material from Caymanas Park, which sounds like a lovely place to watch some races.
It does.
And he teases that the next lesson is on pace analysis, understanding how a race unfolds before the gates even open, which sounds like the next logical step if we really want to master this.
Understanding the how is definitely the next level after understanding the how to bet. Once you have the structure, you need the narrative of the race to fill it in.
We'll have to keep an eye out for that one. But for now, take a look at your betting slips, check your conviction, and maybe stop trying to win the lottery.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive into Inside the Race. We'll see you next time.